Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing well out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great, and appreciate you stopping by. Hey, I got a little thing coming up, programming note. If you guys want to check it out tomorrow on the Tobin and Leroy show, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 560 WQAM. You guys can see us on the YouTube page over there live. Around 11:30, we are scheduled to have Kasparis Yakachonis's college coach, Brad Underwood, head coach of the Fighting Illini. He is scheduled to join the program. So if you want to learn a little bit more about your first round pick, he should be joining the show tomorrow in the 11 o'clock hour. Should be around 11:30 Eastern. And we stream live there. I always put the link of 560's page. If you guys could subscribe there, please do. And on today's radio show, there was a lot going on. It was hot, heavy, a lot of moves that were happening. First off, we found out that the Milwaukee Bucks, who last night lost Brook Lopez to the LA Clippers, they had signed Myles Turner from the Indiana Pacers, stretch big man from the Indiana Pacers, signed a 4-year deal with the Milwaukee Bucks to become their new starting center. And we were all very confused for a second because we're like, what money do they have? Well, we found out the more shocking move, even more shocking than taking the Eastern Conference champions starting center and rival. Do not forget, these guys, these are two franchises that don't like each other very much. Damian Lillard, Dame Dollar, was waived by the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to stretch his contract, and that is absolutely bananas. Dame Dollar, who never wanted to be in Milwaukee in the first place, he wanted to be in Miami. The Bucks decide, after this man worked his way back from a blood clot to be in their postseason series, blew out his Achilles, and their thanks for that was, see ya, dude. We're waving you. We're stretching you. And I know why everyone's going to say, oh, poor Damian Lillard. He's got $100+ million guaranteed coming his way. Boo! I get you. You're a rat bastard. But like, dude, the fact that he never wanted to be there in the first place, tries to make the best out of it. And look, I get it. All that money's guaranteed, but you still got to feel for the guy. Like, trying to make the best out of a situation that stinks, and you didn't want to be in Milwaukee in the first place, and this is the thanks you get. You're just like, hey, we don't believe in you anymore. See ya. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Rough. Now, some statements have come out. His agent says, Aaron Goodwin, our old friend, he says, quote, it's an incredible opportunity for Damian. He receives all his money guaranteed, provides the opportunity to decide his next destination as an unrestricted free agent. He gets the chance to rehab at home if he chooses to, or be with his family and his kids next year. The goal for him is to take time and make a decision on what his next destination will be. Mark Spears, also some ties to Dame, says, don't feel bad for Dame, win-win. He has a player option next summer that he considered not exercising. I don't know, dude. Turning down, what was it, $60 million? A lot of dough on the table. No secret, living away from his family in Milwaukee was a challenge. He gets his money, now an unrestricted free agent, and gets to decide where he wants to go. Obviously, we were all curious locally. What does this mean for his interest in coming to the team that he always wanted to come to, Miami? We know Damian Lillard. Of course, we all looked upon him. And in a lot of ways, this trade is very, very sensitive to us all, right? We get very mad at Joe Cronin, who could rot in basketball hell as far as I'm concerned. We get very mad at the Heat because they weren't able to pull this move off. Maybe got a little too aggressive, the Heat and Aaron Goodwin, with their behavior in this. So much so that they basically had to get told, or the agent had to get told, shut up by the league. But Damian Lillard's been nothing but a stand-up player his entire career, was loyal all the way with Portland up until they wanted to blow it up and tank, and then gets to Milwaukee where he didn't want to be, going through hard times with his family, having a divorce go through, and has this as like the end of the era. And so it sucks. I'm a big Damian Lillard fan, just as an aside. Like, this wasn't just like, it wasn't just that I wanted the Heat to get Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's probably my favorite non-Heat player. And it's not just because Stones hits big shots. Maybe it's because he's a huge boxing fan too. You guys know I love the fight game, but I've always really had a soft spot in my heart for Damian Lillard. I really, really love Dame Dollar. So there's part of me that's like, I can't believe this is how it ends, right? Like, it's like the only team that benefited out of this was the Boston Celtics somehow, some way, because, you know, Milwaukee, Damon, Giannis didn't really work out, and this is the ending of it. Portland, I guess they're fine. DeAndre Ayton just got waived or bought out, and the Heat have obviously been an absolute mess since their finals run. In so many ways, failing to deliver on this trade was the end of everything. And yeah, look, some may say, like, maybe Damian Lillard looks at Miami now and is like, instead of being the final piece of a championship, I know that this guy has to be yearning for a ring. And I don't know where the Miami Heat are going to go from here. It seems, based on reports, based on actions, Miami's going to lean very, very young this year. Does adding a Damian Lillard make a ton of sense? It can in some ways, because one, you are banking on the talent. It doesn't feel like it's going to cost you very much. And I think one thing that you do know is I think it would make Bam Adebayo very, very happy. That's his guy. That's a person he's very, very close with. And I think that they would like the opportunity to see that through. I think that's somebody that he would absolutely, we're talking probably knocking on the door at the end of Duncan Robinson. Would love to see what he could do in the chemistry with somebody like Damian Lillard and what the masterful arts of that would be like together. But, maybe Damian Lillard looks at this and he's like, I don't know if that's where I want to be. I'm not sure. There's also reports out there that Giannis Antetokounmpo was upset by this. Is that the case? I don't know. It was reported by Chris Haynes, who is basically a Damian Lillard confidant. Like, this guy is Damian Lillard's, go-to guy. And so if he says something like that, you take it with a great deal of validity. Now, there's other reports. I believe Shams today said that that Giannis had a big part in recruiting Myles Turner to his team. I don't know. Is Giannis Antetokounmpo really hurt by the Damian Lillard thing, or is he a snake in the grass? Because, look, I'll give the Bucks credit on this. They stuck their beak where it doesn't belong, so they get very, very little sympathy from me. But that's really a one-man franchise, and they have literally cut the heart out of everything that they've had with that championship team. Brook Lopez is in there. They sent Chris Middleton to Washington for Kyle Kuzma. That's cutthroat. Pat Connaughton's now gone. Drew Holiday obviously was in the Dame trade, and he was a champion, and they flipped his ass, and Drew Holiday rewarded them by saying, hey, I won a championship. They basically have ousted everybody who's not Bobby Portis, and I can't really blame him for that because he probably whooped their ass. So probably a smart move on the front office's part to not mess with Bobby Portis. But look, dude, they have moved heaven and earth to try and make their team viable for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So there is part of me that can respect that of their organization, but it also reeks of desperation. And you're talking about basically you bring in Myles Turner at, $25 a year, but it's really, almost $50 million a year because all of that cost of Damian Lillard to even have him on your books. And that's a lot for Myles Turner. Myles Turner's a nice player, but this is a guy that, Indiana's been looking to probably, get out of there for year after year after year. And they're just like, all right, I guess this is what's going to happen. We just made the Eastern Conference Finals. They know. They're like, you don't think we can find somebody to replace Myles Turner? Out of all the guys that they have on their championship team, to me, it feels like Myles Turner's the most replaceable and the guy they've probably been looking to replace the most. Now, obviously, they're going into a down year. They don't have Tyrese Halliburton. But getting back to Miami, selfishly for me, I would love Damian Lillard on the Heat because, as I've pointed out, I'm a huge Dame fan. I get people who are concerned and are like, oh, do him and Tyler make sense? And look, I don't know. This is essentially like if you bring him here, you're bringing him here to rehab with the team and then see what it is next year for him. And I feel like if you're knowing there's going to probably be a robust market for people who are going to get Damian Lillard on the cheap skis, you want to be the team that shows that you want him the most. And I think the Heat, where they effed up in this whole thing, is they went at this trying to bully Joe Cronin and, almost felt a little too cocky going into these moves. Well, now that Damian Lillard, it's in his control, I think that if you really do want Damian Lillard, and the reports are, yeah, they're interested in Damian Lillard, that you're going to want to do what you can to you're going to absolutely want to do what you can to make the guy feel wanted. If you truly feel like you're at that part of your build and you're talking about banking on the rehabilitation of a legend and seeing, what this comeback tour can be like. Now, there can be some skepticism with it because, if I were to parallel it to a pretty recent example and somebody who I think was even, younger at the time when this all happened, but it's a little reminiscent pretty recently of Victor Oladipo, where Victor Oladipo really wanted to be on the Heat. The Heat ended up getting him super cheap on a deal with Houston, but his leg was butchered and he was never the same. And then he got another injury, and we got to see a very short stint of the best of Victor Oladipo. I don't know where the Miami Heat, and so it never, and I feel terrible because it's like Vic, it just never got, he wanted to be in Miami so bad, D-Wade guy, and never got to see the best of him with the Heat and what he could provide. So, yeah, it's a little reminiscent of that, but, now you got a guy coming off, Vic came in with a leg already kind of messed up and then had to get that redone, and it took basically half the season for him to get back going. Ends up messing up his leg again in the playoffs. With Dame, you're in a situation where it's like, I don't think it's even going to cost what they paid Vic that second contract. And he is older. I mean, Victor Oladipo is only 33 right now. So Dame, I think, is turning 35 soon. So I don't know. From my standpoint, I'm all in on it. I don't really even, and what else? Who else would be in competition for? I don't know. I think that plenty of teams are going to be like, yeah, we're going to bank on the idea of Damian Lillard being added. But mind you, it's a little bit of a strange situation because whoever gets him is essentially redshirting him this year. It's just a matter of, does he want to rehab this year and be away? I'm sure this stuff will take time and they will make calls, but even the betting odds that came out, Miami was the favorite and obvious why. This is the place he wanted to be. The captain of the team is very close with him. Team USA respect for Eric Spoelstra. Feels like that's where he was supposed to end up all along. The big difference this time around, though, is he's not becoming the final piece with Jimmy and Bam, where it seemed like he was a seamless, perfect fit for those guys. It's got to work with Tyler Hero, assuming that, Tyler's contract stuff all goes smoothly by next year and he's still here. And they're in that kind of a mode, but it just look. I know it's not maybe the most exciting thing because you're feeling like Damian Lillard. You're getting him as damaged goods. You're not getting the Damian Lillard. But it also feels very much like Miami's not going to take, even if this results in them having to waive Terry Rozier because no one's going to want Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier's not going to have a role on this team this year. So do they, use that roster spot? Now they're probably going to have a roster spot because it seems very much like Duncan Robinson's not going to be here. So do they use that on Dame and see like what that is to kind of build around and make that work. I don't know, but I do think there's a lot of people who would very much be interested in seeing what that is going to be like for this Miami Heat team. But man, dude, that was cold-blooded. The other piece of this that I should mention while we're doing all these topics is the Giannis element to it. And I can't make heads or tails of. I don't think Chris Haynes is a liar. I think of him as being a credible reporter. So him throwing out there that, hey, Giannis is like, I will say Giannis was very chipper today on social media. Last night he was saying like underachiever my ass and like throwing up all his hardware. And then today he's like saying goodbye to Brook Lopez, saying Brook Lopez should get his number retired. And then all these moves happen. And then it's like 0 dark 30. He's off the map. He's off the grid. So I guess we'll have to see. The one thing I will say about this, one way or another, if you make these moves in your Milwaukee, you ain't trading them this summer. So I guess any pipe dreams, not that it felt like, not like any Heat fan had a ton of confidence anyway. And that's even if Giannis came out and said Miami and only Miami. Even if that happened, people's confidence is a little weaned right now. But to me, if you're the Bucks and you do this, hell, dude, I think they're basically telling you we're running the season and we're not trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this feels like even. I know there was some semblance of, oh, what about the trade deadline? What about that? If you're doing this, dude, you're not trading Giannis this year. You can't. You cannot sink $20 million a year in cost in Damian Lillard not being on your roster, and then another 25 a year of Myles Turner being on your roster, and just be like, oh, we're going to wave the white flag by February. They would have to be so putridly bad, and Giannis would have to make such a stink for that to even like be close to the case. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. The Damian Lillard thing, though, man, Dame Dollar, just I can't tell you. Like I'd still get I would still get the Goosies getting to do this at the Heat's house. Like that, that is a day that I will look forward to. That is a day that I will look forward to. Wish Damian Lillard the speediest of recoveries. I'm sorry Joe Cronin is a rat bastard. I'm sorry that the Bucks are heartless monsters, and I hope we get to see him in a Heat uniform. I think that would be really, really cool.